Alright, so I've been getting clapped in League because I don't understand anything about it. So I thought I would organize my mind by doing a little bit of research and putting it into a shitty high school presentation form. So the items in League explained. So this slide is pretty shit, but all it's supposed to tell you is that in League you have 6 item slots and an extra slot for trinkets, and trinkets are like special items that you use for observation stuff. And so something that you're supposed to know is that because of how long League has been around, players have found some of the most optimal items to buy for each specific character. Um, there are many websites explaining this, or explaining the most commonly used item builds. And an item build is a recommended list of items to buy for a character. Uh, Item combining is very important. In League, there's a system where lower tier weapons can combine to form higher tier weapons. It's a way to economically skill the character and not have to wait a long time in order to get enough money to increase your strength. So if you're dying a lot, you can still get a bit of a power boost by uh, buying a few amplifying tomes before you can get your lost chapter. Item effects. This slide is just explaining what items do. So all items provide an effect of some kind. The effect can be classified as stat buffs, which increase a character's stats. There are 24 different stats in League, but they can be classified as offensive, defensive, utility, or other. There are passive effects. They're like stat buffs, but they are active without uh, or they are active without player input, but they don't increase the character's stats, but activate when a condition is met. Jax's Relentless Attack increases auto attack damage by 3.5 to 11%, determined by level, every hit, and is reset when Jax does not hit an auto under 2 seconds. Auras. They provide buffs and status effects to nearby enemies or friendly units. All aura effects are unique. And then there's active effects. These are basically like champion abilities that can be bought. They are active when the hotkey for that item is pushed. So basically, in your little inventory space, there is a number corresponding to the inventory slot, and if you push it, the item's active effect activates, and your character does something. And then these are all of the character stats. It's pretty boring, and uh, it's not like you really need to know them, so you could just skip this part. But I'm gonna read them all for my sake. Ability power provides scaling on some abilities. Uh, Armor penetration, how much the armor values of targets are reduced during physical damage calculations. Attack damage provides the initial damage value of basic attacks and scaling on some abilities. Attack speed, the rate at which a champion uses their basic attack. And I'm bored and don't want to read the rest of this. But uh, character stats, there's defense, so there's this stuff. Uh, Armor is important, health is important, magic resistance is important. I mean, they're all important, but there's this one, which is also important. I don't feel like reading it anymore, so I stopped caring. And then there's these um, stats that don't quite align with the other groups, but they are also important. And this is uh, something that needs to be known. There are 5 tiers of item quality in the league. So basically, different items have different tiers of usefulness, you could say. Those tiers are starter, basic, epic, legendary, and mythic. If you think basic to epic is a bit of a, a long, like a long stretch, I thought that too, but it doesn't really matter. There are also special items that don't fit the quality list, like potions and consumables, trinkets, distributed items, turret minion items, and boots. I explained most of these except the distributed items and turret minion items because distributed items are specific to runes and whatever, and I don't feel like talking about that. Uh, so starter items, they are what they say. Items that aren't very good at the start, or sorry, that are good at the start. They're cheap. They do not combine, so they are sold later in the game. And the goal is to get your first few basic items quickly. The average price of the starter items is about 505 gold, and the range is 600 gold, so there's a bit of a spread in price. Some are about $1,000, some are about 200, 300, or something like that. Um, and there are 17 starter items in the game as of that date. And basic items, they are a tier above starter items, but they're not really that much different. The biggest difference is that they are able to combine to form epic items. Depending on the item build that you are going for, you should buy certain basic items that combine to form your desired legendary item. The average price for a basic item is 580 gold, but it has a large range, so some of these are pretty cheap and some of these are more expensive than you might expect. There are 17 basic items in League as of that date, and as of now, I'm going to stop saying that and you can read it if you want. And epic items. Um, Epic items are pretty expensive. You won't be able to get them too quickly. They are the last power spike before you get the actual item you want. The average price for epic items are 956 gold, and the range is also pretty large, 1,050 gold. So some of these are much more expensive than others. There are 44 epic items as of that date, and I said I wouldn't mention it, but I just did. Uh, Epic items are pretty important. Um, they're what you get. They're like your first, second power spike after you get your basic items and whatnot. Legendary items. Now these are the items that you've been saving up for. These are the last items. I mean, these are the items that you want, basically. Um, these items provide powerful effects, but they are expensive. And there are 72 legendary items, and I couldn't be bothered to calculate the average price, but there is a pretty large range. And uh, yeah, anyway, and then there are mythic items. These are the best items in the game, basically. They are the most powerful and most expensive, and because of that, League only allows you to carry one mythic at a time, no matter if you have a free inventory slot or not. These are crucial items in your build, usually what the item build is built around or balanced around. I couldn't be bothered with the average price again, but if I had to say, it's about 3,000, 4,000 gold with like a range of 1,000. Now boots, I had the example Eevee because that's basically what they are. You have the normal one, which you see right there. Uh, it's pretty inexpensive. Um, the average for boots is like 1,000, and the range is like 300, but that's excluding uh, these boots, which are the less expensive version. They're about the price of a basic item. So, yeah. And then there's potions and consumables. There are 7 items in this category. These items are meant for one-time uses to grant temporary buffs. Um, except for this one. This is an observer ward. This one's like a trinket, but it's not. So, take that how you will. Uh, there are 3 items in the trinket category. They're very important to the meta. I mean, they have the special extra slot, of course. They don't add any buffs or effects to the player, but they do add information like the stealth ward and the oracle lens, which reveals the wards, and this one, which I actually have no idea what that is because I've never used it in game because I'm trash. And then I put the item buy order. This is because I'm always forgetting which items I'm supposed to buy first. In any case, it's a good idea to get your starting item and then start to build your mythic, your boots, and one core item. It's a good idea to buy the basic items that build into your mythic and your boots and your core items at the same time to get a small power spike every minute or so, or every so much more often than you would if you just waited for a long time to get your power spike. Or something to that matter. I might be talking out of my ass. Like I said, I'm totally ass at the game. So, when you start the game, you're given about 500 gold, and you're given about 1,400 uh, in the other game modes. But it doesn't really matter because who the fuck plays those? So the first items to build, the mythic and the boots, probably. And yeah, that's that. That's the end of that. I'm done.